Japan, 1645. Man feels death slowly approaching. His hands, which once wielded the deadliest katana in the land, now tremble with age. He knows he has only a few days left to leave behind something that could change lives forever. You are about to discover what this legendary samurai wrote in his final moments, and why it may be exactly what you need to stop being held hostage by your own fears. But be warned, once you understand this, there is no turning back. Imagine living without fear, without anxiety, without depending on the opinions of others to feel worthy or complete. It sounds impossible, right? Yet in 1645, a legendary samurai named Miyamoto Musashi did something extraordinary. He took all the wisdom gathered from a lifetime of battles, victories, defeats, solitude, and self-reflection, and condensed it into just 21 simple rules. These rules were not written for other samurai. They were written for himself. A final gift he left to the world before his death. And here is the most fascinating part. These same rules can solve nearly 90% of the problems you face today. Why? Because human problems have not changed. Only the circumstances have. The anxiety you feel in certain moments of your life is the same fear a samurai felt before stepping onto a battlefield. The social pressure you experience at work mirrors the pressure once felt inside the Japanese imperial court. The situations are different, but the emotional struggles are identical. Musashi understood this, and more importantly, he found the solution. Today, you are going to learn how to apply this ancient philosophy to your modern life. In this video, we won't cover all 21 rules Musashi wrote, but we will focus on the most essential ones, principles that can radically change the way you see yourself and the world. Before we dive deeper, you need to understand who this man truly was. But first, take a moment to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and activate the bell so you don't miss any future content. Now, back to the story. Miyamoto Musashi was no ordinary samurai. At just 13 years old, he had already killed a man in a duel. By the age of 30, he was considered invincible. There is no absolute scholarly consensus, but many historians believe he won more than 60 duels without losing a single one. But here comes the real plot twist. The more battles he won, the more he realized that the true enemy was not standing in front of him. The real battle was internal, against his own fears, desires, attachments, and weaknesses. That realization changed everything. Musashi discovered a truth that most men never reach. Real strength does not come from conquering others. It comes from conquering yourself. This is the foundation of Dokkōdō, often translated as the way of walking alone or the path of solitude. But be careful. This philosophy is not about social isolation. It is about emotional independence. It means not needing validation, approval, or permission from anyone to feel whole. Think about it for a moment. How many decisions have you made based on what others might think? How many times have you stopped yourself because you feared judgment? How often have you felt disappointed because you didn't receive the recognition you expected? Musashi understood one fundamental truth. As long as you depend on external factors to feel happy, you will never be truly free. And true freedom is what makes a person unshakable. So how did he come to this conclusion? And more importantly, how can you apply it today? This is only the beginning. Let's get straight to the point. Out of the 21 precepts of Dokkōdō, there are 5 that can completely transform your life. The first one goes directly against everything modern society teaches you. Precept 1. Do not seek pleasure for its own sake. Pause for a second. This does not mean becoming a monk or giving up all enjoyment. It means something far deeper. Do not become a slave to your desires. Look around you. Modern society is built on instant gratification. Netflix, fast food, social media, online shopping. all engineered to deliver quick dopamine hits. The problem is that this creates dependency. When pleasure becomes your goal, your emotional state becomes fragile. If things don't go your way, you suffer. If you can't get what you want, you become frustrated. You lose control. Musashi understood this over 400 years ago. He believed that the man who controls his desires controls his life, and the man who is controlled by them controls nothing. Ironically, when you stop desperately chasing pleasure, you often become happier because your well-being no longer depends on external conditions. Precept 2. Do not cling to possessions. This principle is revolutionary in the modern world. We are taught that happiness comes from accumulating more money, more followers, more status, more recognition. But Musashi discovered a brutal truth. The more tightly you cling to things, the more fragile you become. Everything you own can be taken away. And when your identity is attached to possessions, losing them feels like losing yourself. This doesn't mean rejecting comfort or becoming a minimalist. It means understanding the difference between owning things and being owned by them. You can have possessions, but they should not have power over you. When you learn not to cling, you can lose everything and still remain whole. Precept 3. Have no personal preferences regarding yourself. This may be the hardest concept to grasp. Musashi is not saying you shouldn't have tastes or opinions. He is warning against identifying yourself with them. Preferences change. When you define yourself by what you like or dislike, your emotional state becomes unstable. Today you enjoy something. Tomorrow you don't. When your identity is tied to preference, you live on an emotional roller coaster. Today you feel one way. Tomorrow you feel something completely different. Truly unshakable people build an identity that goes far beyond temporary preferences. They know who they are, regardless of what they like or dislike at any given moment. And that is incredibly liberating, because you stop judging yourself based on fleeting tastes and start developing a deeper understanding of who you really are. But stay with me. The next precepts will challenge your thinking even more. Now we move into the principles that truly separate ordinary people from extraordinary ones. Prepare yourself, because what comes next goes directly against everything you've been taught about relationships. Success and approval. Precept 4. Do not seek to be loved or lovable. At first. This sounds harsh, almost cruel. But let's clarify what Musashi actually meant. He was not encouraging you to be cold or unkind. He was warning you to stop living for approval. Stop reshaping your personality to fit expectations. Stop shrinking yourself just to avoid conflict. Ask yourself honestly, how many times have you said yes when you really meant no? How many times have you pretended to agree just to keep the peace? How often have you stayed silent because you feared rejection or judgment? This constant need to be liked is exactly what Musashi was warning against, and it becomes a prison. Unshakable people do not rely on external approval to feel worthy. They remain authentic, even if it means not pleasing everyone. And here is the paradox. When you stop trying to be liked, you often become more attractive. Authenticity has a magnetic quality. People are naturally drawn to those who have the courage to be real. Precept 5. Do not be guided by feelings of lust or love. This one is controversial, but it's often misunderstood. Musashi was not telling you to avoid love or relationships. He was warning against becoming enslaved by emotions, allowing desire or attachment to dictate your decisions. Think about how many people you know who make destructive choices when they are in love. People who abandon their goals, compromise their values, or reshape their entire identity just to keep someone close. Musashi understood that true love is not possession. It is mutual freedom. When you love someone without dependency, you give your strength. When you love desperately, you give your weakness. Modern psychology supports this idea. According to a study by psychologists at the University of Rochester, relationships based on healthy interdependence, rather than emotional dependence, are 73% more likely to be long-lasting and fulfilling. A neuroscientist with over 20 years of experience in human behavior explained it clearly at a recent conference. When you don't need someone to feel complete, you can choose to be with them for the right reasons. That creates a far stronger foundation for any relationship. But beyond studies and statistics, there is something no research can fully measure: the sense of freedom that comes when you realize you don't need anything or anyone to feel whole. It feels like a massive weight has been lifted from your shoulders. And this leads us to the most powerful aspect of Dokkōdō, how to apply it practically in daily life. Because theory without application is just philosophy talked about over drinks. Now, let's get practical. Here's how you can use these teachings to solve real problems in the modern world. Some of these ideas may feel uncomfortable at first. That's normal. Situation 1. Social media anxiety. You know that sinking feeling when you post something and it doesn't get the reactions you expected. Or when you scroll and see people who appear happier, richer, or more successful than you. This is exactly what Musashi meant by seeking external validation. The solution, according to Dokkōdō, is simple but challenging. Stop posting to impress. Only post when you genuinely want to share something. And when you do, resist the urge to check reactions every few minutes. Try this experiment for 1 week. Before posting anything, ask yourself, am I doing this for myself or for others? If the answer is for others, don't post it. You'll quickly realize how many actions are driven by the need for validation. And when you stop, you free yourself from a prison you didn't even know you were living in. Situation 2. Pressure at work. Have you ever felt forced to comply with everything your boss asks, even when you know it's wrong? Or stressed because you can't control how others judge your performance? If Musashi lived today, he would likely say, do your work with excellence, but do not attach yourself to the result. Focus on what you control, your effort, discipline, and integrity, and release what you don't, such as opinions and recognition. In practice, this means prioritizing the process over the outcome. You control how well you work, not how others react. When you stop obsessing over things outside your control, you become far more effective at what truly matters. Situation 3. Toxic relationships. How many times have you stayed in unhealthy relationships, romantic, family, or friendships, simply because you were afraid of being alone? The principle of Dokkōdō is clear. It is better to be alone and authentic than surrounded by people and false. Loneliness is not the absence of people. It is the absence of genuine connection. When you apply this principle, you stop tolerating disrespect. You stop minimizing yourself to maintain harmony. You stop pretending to be someone you are not just to be accepted. And here's the surprising part. When you do this, you naturally attract people who value you for who you truly are. You trade quantity for quality. Situation 4. Consumerism and materialism. Have you ever bought something believing it would finally make you happy, only to feel that excitement fade after a few days? Have you ever felt pressured to own things you don't truly need just to impress someone else? Musashi lived for years with only the bare minimum, not because he was poor, but because he chose to. He discovered a powerful truth: the less you need, the freer you become. This does not mean becoming a hermit or living like a beggar. It means learning to clearly distinguish between real needs and temporary wants. It means having control over your purchases instead of allowing your purchases to control you. Here's a simple but effective practice. Before buying anything non-essential, wait 48 hours. If, after that time, you still want it and you can afford it without harming your finances, then buy it. You'll be shocked by how many impulsive purchases disappear once desire has time to cool. But there is an aspect of Dokkōdō that goes even deeper, something far more profound and transformative. There is something about Musashi's teachings that most people overlook. At first, it may sound disturbing, but it holds the key to real transformation. Musashi wrote his 21 precepts knowing he had very little time left to live. Many historians believe he was suffering from stomach cancer. He was, quite literally, staring death in the face. And it was precisely this awareness that gave him absolute clarity to focus only on what truly mattered. Here is the uncomfortable truth. We are all going to die. You, me, everyone. The difference is that most people live as if this reality doesn't exist. And because of that denial, they waste enormous amounts of time on things that don't matter. When you genuinely accept your mortality, not in a dark or morbid way, but in a realistic and honest way, your priorities change completely. You stop worrying so much about what others think. You stop postponing your dreams. You stop living the life others expect you to live. This is the final and most powerful lesson of Dokkōdō. Live as if you could die tomorrow, but prepare as if you are going to live forever. Another phrase captures this perfectly. St. Augustine once said, "Take care of your soul as if you were going to die tomorrow, and your body as if you were going to live forever." So what does it really mean to be unshakable? It does not mean being insensitive. It does not mean being emotionless. And it certainly does not mean being fearless. Being unshakable means having such a strong foundation in who you are that external storms cannot knock you down. It means knowing that even if you lose everything, you still remain yourself. It is the difference between being a leaf that is blown around by every gust of wind and being a mountain that stands firm. No matter how violent the storm becomes, Musashi achieved this. Strength through a lifetime of battles, not only against others, but against himself. You can achieve it by applying the principles of Dokkōdō to your own life. It isn't easy. It isn't fast. But it is absolutely possible. So here is my final question for you. If you knew you only had 1 week left to live, how would you live today? What fears would you finally release? What masks would you take off? What truths would you at last speak out loud? You don't need to wait a week to find the answers. You can start right now. Because in the end, Dokkōdō is not about preparing for death. It is about finally learning how to live. And if you've made it this far, congratulations. You've already taken the first step. Seeking knowledge that challenges you is itself an act of courage. Now the real question remains. Will you simply keep this knowledge, or will you have the courage to apply it? The choice is yours. It always has been.